Hey man, welcome back to another episode of the No Hedging Podcast. I am your host, Ty the Jet Franklin. I got my co-host right here.
Rip 16 to go.
You know what it is. This is week 7 takeaway videos, man. We're about to talk about what we took away from NFL week 7. Before we do that, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so we can produce more content for the NFL season and the NBA season as well, which is kicking off today.
Yes.
But other than that, let's get right into it, man. Week 7, NFL season, a lot of upsets.
It was chaos.
Craziness. What do you take away? What's like your number one takeaway from week 7, man, this past weekend?
Trust half of what you see. Believe.
That's a fact.
It was just chaos. It was madness. It was upsets. I think a lot of these teams who've been at the bottom are kind of turning the tide. Mm-hmm. And, some of these teams who were kind of juiced up at the beginning are kind of losing a little bit of juice. Mm-hmm. So it's like the playing field's kind of leveling out. So a lot of these games is like, I think once those two last undefeated teams got defeated, it really just went wild, wild west after that.
Yeah. It's like all these teams now look at it like, okay, we got a chance to win.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think everybody believes they can win.
We can beat the best teams, right? They can go down. They're not, they're not like invincible. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, what I took away from it was it's the any given Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's really any given Sunday, and especially on primetime games, don't expect the favorite team to come out.
Speaking of primetime games, glad that you brought that up. We got TNF, SNF, MNF.
Yep.
If you want to look at all three of those games, they were special games for different reasons. TNF, Thursday Night Football, you got the Jags versus Saints.
Yep.
The Saints and Derek Carr looked like they were clicking during that game for the majority of the game.
Second half
for sure.
Second half.
Kamara had a great game. Catching and rushing, he had a great game. So I think they showed a lot of promise with that. And of course, they didn't show as much versatility out of Taysom Hill, but he played more of a traditional tight end role this game.
He got into the end zone, scored a touchdown on the zone read.
Zone read, and
which they should have ran at the end of the game to get in the end zone again, but they didn't.
They didn't. But the Jags pulled it off.
Yeah.
My takeaway from that game was, look, the Jags are starting to put it together. Like I told you, I don't know what it was. I think I said it in the rundown. I don't know what it is about the Jags. Think those cats got 9 lives or something. And they pulled out another one of them lives. Musgrave, or not Musgrave. What's my boy, the receiver? He dropped the pass in the end zone for the Saints. He had it. Derek Carr hit him and hit his hands. He just dropped it. And that could have been a tying touchdown. Yep. But the Jags are benefiting off of a lot of situations like that, where they just have a play go their way.
Yeah.
They kind of got that energy on them right now until it doesn't go their way. I think it's one of those teams where you got to continue to kind of look at them.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence played great. Had a banged up knee. Came out there, performed. Wasn't sure
Couldn't
if he was going to play. He led his team in rushing that night. You know what I'm saying? Like,
couldn't tell.
So I mean, the Saints were able to shut down, Travis Etienne and the Jags running backs, but Trevor Lawrence led his team in rushing that night with a bum knee. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying. Believe half of what you see.
The only thing, they kind of stalled out mid-game, in the middle of the game, whatever. They started off hot, did what they had to do.
Yeah.
But, turnovers helped them out, obviously.
For sure.
They kind of stalled out a little bit, but they end up winning, and that's all that matters. Now they're on a break, 10-day break or whatever. Got a bye week.
Great for Trevor Lawrence's knee, even better. So I expect them to come out swinging when they come back. So, but another primetime game, Sunday Night Football.
Yep.
Waiting all day for Sunday night.
EAGLES Eagles, man.
The Eagles brought it home against Miami.
Yep. As expected. I expected it.
People were going down left and right. especially on Monday Night Football. But we'll get to that in a second. I think that the Miami defense was surprisingly better than I thought they would play against the run. Mm-hmm. But Jalen was able to take the top off a few times on them, and that was more than enough. They kind of contained Tyreek Hill. I mean, he had 88 receiving yards, which is contained for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. He dropped a touchdown too. So
he did. So, I mean, I think Miami's defense was kind of a surprise takeaway from that one. Of course, the Eagles were the favorite for a reason, and they did take it home.
I wasn't too surprised on the Miami defense because, like I told you in the rundown, AJ Brown's gonna have a day. You know what I'm saying? Like Miami, their secondary is banged up. Xavier wasn't playing. Jalen Ramsey wasn't playing. So you got backup cornerbacks in there. Like I said, Kehu, he got destroyed by Stephon Diggs a couple weeks prior. So I expected AJ to have a good game. I did expect Philly to be more physical than the Miami Dolphins, especially with that front four, with all those Georgia Bulldog players that they have on that defensive roster. So I did expect that. And I mean, Miami, they tried to fight a little bit. They had one touchdown on a pick six or whatever, but outside of that, they really didn't do much offensively. Right. It's just hard. It's hard playing in that environment, man. Philadelphia, they brought out the nice jerseys. You know what I'm saying? The throwbacks.
People were raving about the Kelly game.
But the real takeaway for real out of that game is that brotherly shove play. You know what I'm saying? Like, they did that 4 times on the same drive. And
I didn't take that as a takeaway.
You can't stop that play.
You can't stop it.
You can't stop it.
And I mean, they the only one who can really do it. I mean, you have Jalen Hurts.
Other teams do it, and they can't do it.
They can't do it because their quarterback can't squat 600 pounds.
Yeah.
You're not doing that. Yeah. You gotta have some big big offensive linemen, some strong guys. You gotta have a strong quarterback.
Yeah.
So he's in there with his legs turning, and he's getting pushed in the back. Like, no, it's not happening. Shout out to Jason Kelsey because he has a mountain of people on his back every time they run that play.
I saw him one time in the end zone. He was flattened.
It's as skinny as he's ever been in his life.
Yeah, but I knew Philadelphia was going to win that game. We seen Miami play Buffalo, a better defense, and get dominated. It was similar story.
It was similar.
Miami's been beating up on these inferior teams as they should.
Yeah.
So they still have some things to prove to the world if they can compete against the top tier teams, right? So
I think
that's where I'm at with Miami.
Miami's competitive part still boils down to the defense because I mean we still know the offense got speed. We still know the offense can score. Waddle had a back injury in the middle of the game, so he was kind of dealing with that. He came back, but that's something to be on the lookout for and watch out for. But, like you said, they got cooked a lot in the secondary, which brings me to Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Charvarius Ward.
Yeah.
They was picking on him. Kirk Cousins was locked in. That was Perk Cousins out there.
Yeah, he had a day.
He had a day. He was out there locked in. We watched Addison turn into Justin Jefferson in front of our eyes. We had a solid game from Hawkinson.
Fight on.
I seen a couple other guys on the backup that started catching some passes, and then at that point when I seen him hitting Powell and a couple other guys, I was like, yeah, Kirk Cousins just locked in at this point.
I think a lot of credit needs to go to the offensive line. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't sacked at all. You talking about a 49ers.
They protected him.
You talking about a 49ers defense that gets to the passer. You talking about Nick Bosa. You know what I'm saying? Like, his name wasn't called at all last night, on Monday night. So you got to give a lot of credit. That's like the biggest takeaway, like how their offensive line held up against the 49ers defense. Giving Kurt Cousins all that time to throw the ball and make the right reads and right passes, and he just carved up that defense like it was nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Kurt Angle, as you almost said, he was catching every angle he could catch, every passing window he could catch. At one point, I thought they had a sack. They sandwiched him in the middle, and he just stood still and popped out and threw another first down. I said, this guy is locked in.
That was the key play in the game too. Threw it to Addison flag on the play, first down, and kind of ended the game there, really. 49ers had a chance to come back, but Brock Purdy threw another interception, kind of sealed the deal. 2 picks
Purdy
to
was
Bynum.
pressing. Purdy was pressing.
But, I mean, that defense, the Vikings defense, I mean, Brian Flores, he was dialing it up, blitzing. You know what I'm saying? Bringing a lot of looks.
Got to give them credit for that.
Yeah.
Got to give the Vikings defense credit. They played a lot better this week, along with your Denver Broncos. They've been playing a lot better defense also, and they were able to pull it off mainly off of defense.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, those are some of my major takeaways, and maybe the Browns defense, the Detroit Lions collapse.
Let's talk about that. The Detroit Lions getting their ass beat to sleep by the Baltimore Ravens.
I don't know what that was. They didn't look like the same team.
Like I said, I mentioned this before. I said, if Detroit pulls this off against the Ravens, then I'll have a little more juice on them.
You mentioned that like 5 times.
Yeah, but Detroit is in that similar bucket with the Miami Dolphins. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You playing inferior teams, you beat up on them, you win. You play a Kansas City Chiefs team without Travis Kelce, without Chris Jones, week 1. That's week 1. You can always toss week 1 out as a wash if you want to. Like, throw that away because all kind of bullshit happens there. But outside of that, it's like, okay, whoever they've played, they've beaten, dominated because those teams aren't really that good. You know what I'm saying? They lost to Seattle at home in overtime. You know what I'm saying? Now they lose to Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? These are better teams that they've been playing that they've been losing against. You know what I'm saying? Like, they beat the Carolina. You know what I'm saying? They beaten teams like that. They beat Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Not saying Atlanta is trash, but they're not as on a level as, you know, Baltimore or these other teams. So they got their faces punched in.
Yeah.
They got embarrassed, and they need to go to the drawing board and kind of figure it out and see if they really can compete against these other teams that are higher tier. But defending Lamar Jackson is hard. Everybody knows that. And there's one stat that I heard. Lamar Jackson is 16-1 against NFC teams.
16-1 against NFC teams?
Yep, 16-1 against NFC teams. And you know who's that one loss? The New York Giants last year.
Another speaking of stats.
But Lamar Jackson, I'm looking at him to be MVP. I put in a bet for him to be MVP a couple weeks ago. It's gonna be hard for him to beat out Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes is in that trash division with the Raiders and the Broncos and the iffy Chargers. So, you know, Patrick Mahomes is probably gonna take that one home unless something happens. But outside of that, Lamar Jackson is legit. I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to win their division, like I mentioned before, and they got a chance to go to the Super Bowl or the AFC Championship. Okay. That's what I'm seeing.
Hey, man, listen. The way things going right now, anything is possible.
Yeah.
But shout out to Kev from the analytics department.
Kev
from the analytics department told me that
Kev.
4th player in NFL history with 350 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and 150-plus passer rating in a game was Lamar Jackson. So he did something rare. He had a special game. I'm not going to count Detroit out just yet because of that game. Lamar Jackson was special that day. And the defense played great, too, so I'm not going to put too much pressure on them. Another one was Patrick Mahomes had his 5th career game with 400-plus passing yards and 4-plus touchdowns. And also him and Travis Kelce are 4th amongst QB and tight end duos with 50 touchdowns after this past
Legendary,
Sunday.
Man. Legendary.
So, you know, it's some guys doing some special things in the league. Myles Garrett, 82 career sacks, most in NFL history before turning 28.
He was a beast. He was a beast.
Savage.
Yeah, he was a beast Sunday.
And Puka Nacua, 2nd rookie wide receiver with more than 700 yards in their first 7 career games.
Puka been cooking, man. Puka been cooking.
He was cooking.
He's that dude.
He was cooking. He took over the targets this past Sunday in the Rams game. They kind of got they kind of hold the Rams on that last drive.
Yeah, I mean, that's another takeaway that we could talk about, too, is like the referees in a couple games kind of screwed some teams out, right?
Yeah.
They screwed the Colts. Yeah. You know what I mean? They throwing all these flags on uncatchable balls in the end zone, and they screwed the Rams, marking, Kenny Pickett.
He was clearly
short. A terrible spot.
Terrible spot. I haven't seen the ball. That ball moved like Ray J's hat.
Terrible spot. It was terrible. So they screwed the Rams. But, I mean, speaking of the Steelers, like the Steelers, they are competing. That offense is putting up points. They found a way to run the ball. Fight. They're going to dominate. Mike Tomlin off of a bye. That's a pretty good bet. You know what I'm saying? I'd like the Steelers to jump into the playoffs, too, in the wild card spot.
Is Tomlin one of those top-tier coaches for you, like a Andy Reid, a Belichick? You think Tomlin's on that level as far as coaches go?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's only missed the playoff one time since he's been a coach.
Okay. I agree.
He's legit.
I don't think he gets that much credit for it, but
He's legit.
I think they win a lot of games.
They win coaching. A lot of games, off coaching. Yeah,
not off personnel. It's off coaching.
Yeah, and they have the personnel too, though.
They do have some good personnel. I mean, T.J. Watt out here catching picks and damn near. Did he get a pick six or he almost did?
He dropped back in coverage like a fucking DB.
He did
pick the ball off. It was crazy.
He did.
Crazy.
So I mean, he has some personnel for sure, but I think they win a lot of games off of coaching and strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And approach.
100%. 100%.
This particular game, they played well. They contained pretty much everybody except
Kenny Pickett was throwing some nice back shoulder throws down the field.
Yeah. Pickett to Pickens
to George
was working.
Pickens. Oh, my God.
Pickett to Pickens was working.
Deontay Johnson is back, so they got another weapon on the outside. I want to see Pat Freiermuth come back. He was injured, might be out for a couple weeks, but if he comes back, now you got something on the inside, you got the outside, and then you got Najee Harris and Warren. They got a squad offensively as long as Kenny Pickett can continue doing what he's doing, moving the ball, and Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, can call some decent plays and put them in position to win. I think the last thing I got is the damn Bills, man. The Bills are in trouble.
Oh, my God.
The Bills losing to Bill Belichick.
Oh, my God. The Bills. I don't know what's going on.
3 weeks in a row.
I don't know what's going on with them, but they're supposed to be Super Bowl or bust team.
Yeah.
So we have much higher expectations for them than a lot of teams, and I think they have those same level of expectations on themselves, but they are not living up to it. They're coming out here and they performing in certain games. You come out and you dominate against Miami. You come out and you squeak by the Giants. You squeak by a couple smaller teams or teams with injuries or teams dealing with something or I don't know. But you come out in games like this against the Patriots who have not been playing well at all and let them put up 29. Mac Jones looked locked in.
Yeah.
Like
especially on that last drive.
And I'm like, that's crazy to me. They cannot lose games like that.
Yeah, they went down 10-0 early. They start slow. They try to fight back. And then at the end of the game, when your head coach is a defensive coach, I understand you got players out, right, for the season and all that, Milano and Tre'Davious White. I understand that. You still got other guys back there. But to allow Mac Jones to come down, Mac and Roll Jones, to march down the end of the field, end of the game, score a game-winning touchdown, and hit that hideous gritty in the end zone. It's just ridiculous.
The shitty gritty.
The shitty gritty. But Buffalo, they need some turning around to do. What they are? Are they 2-4 right now or something like that? Or
3-4.
3-4.
They need a bye week.
Yeah, they need
and some milk.
Yeah,
I don't know what is going on over there, but they got to cut it out. Like you have no chance at. They're gonna have a hard time winning their division.
Yeah,
playing at this rate. Let's forget the playoffs. Let's forget a Super Bowl. You have a hard time winning your division.
Yeah, they in trouble. So they need to do some adjustments, fix some things, especially on the offensive side of the ball to get things going sooner and quicker. Because I'm used to Buffalo putting up points early and putting people down early.
Stephon Diggs had like 30 yards for like 3 quarters.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You can't have that and win. You can't.
Gabe Davis ain't do nothing.
6 yards.
They ain't do nothing.
He had 6 yards. I had an over prop on him, 30-something yards. I'm like, oh, this is easy, money. Yeah. No, it's not.
Nah.
6 yards.
Fade the Buffalo Bills at all costs.
If you know what's good for you.
Fade them.
The only last thing I have is I saw some good rookie performances. I saw some good guys that you might want to pick up. Joshua Downs from the Colts. Is his first name Joshua? I know it starts with a J.
I don't know.
Downs from the Colts. He had some good receptions in the game. What's his name? Smith and Jigba from the Seahawks.
Yeah, Jackson, JSN.
With DK Metcalf out, he definitely stepped up and made some good receptions during that game.
Yeah, I should have sat DK on my fantasy. Still won though.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was one more. I can't think of his name right now. But it's some good guys on fantasy that you might want to consider if you want to pick up somebody. Now, including that fantasy, he ends up winning the fantasy, right?
I do it. Total.
Running backs showed up for you.
Don't matter.
It was not DK Metcalf and Geno Smith, how you thought.
Yeah.
Joshua Dobbs actually outperformed Geno Smith.
He did.
But my wide receivers didn't do shit. Devontae Adams didn't do nothing. Cooper Kupp didn't do nothing. Even with DK Metcalf out and Amari Cooper doing nothing, essentially, your running backs picked up the slack. Saquon and Kamara had great games, so, they did enough. Jerome Ford had a solid game for me, but that was about it. Other than that, everybody was single digits. Just Joshua Dobbs and Jerome Ford were my only 2 double digits. Everybody else performed underneath their.
And that's all that matters.
Underneath their status. So, yes, congratulations to you. You did win the game, brother.
Yeah, I did.
I give you a credit where it's due.
Appreciate
guys
that.
Did not show up.
But they don't want to hear about that, man. So that was our takeaways from week 7. You guys stay tuned for the rundown, best bets, and dog of the week. Next video, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned, man, for the next video from the No Hedging Podcast.
Yeah, stay tuned because we're going to talk and we're going to concentrate hard because we need to bounce back.
We out.